In school, we're all taught about the Black Civil Rights Movement and its leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, as well as the events and protests they helped lead, such as the bus boycotts or the Selma marches. However, one figure that seems to be taught much less is Malcolm X. While most civil rights leaders at the time fought for integration, Malcolm fought for separatism. Not to be confused with segregation, black separatism was meant to allow black Americans to grow politically and economically as a race, whereas segregation was typically a degrading, unequal practice that kept white Americans in an oppressive position. While Malcolm and his teachings are surprisingly taught much less in schools, if you were to examine his impact, Malcolm was in fact a very influential key figure in the movement. And this is for a variety of reasons. Malcolm was the reason the Nation of Islam's teachings had such a wide reach across the country. He was the one that spearheaded the whole by any means approach in obtaining racial justice, as well as spreading racial unity across black Americans using religion. Growing up, Malcolm had a rough childhood full of racial prejudice against him. At the age of 3, his family home was burned down by white supremacists. At 6, his father was killed by the KKK. After he and 3 others are caught retrieving a stolen watch from a pawn shop, he served 6 years in prison while his white girlfriend only served 7 months. So when he is introduced to Islam and black separatism while in prison, it made a lot of sense to him. Following being released in 1952, Malcolm would quickly rise in position in the Nation of Islam, the highly impactful religious political organization he would join while in prison. He would begin a campaign of sharing the NOI's teachings wherever he went. Within a few years of being released, his teachings would bring the group's membership to over 40,000, making the NOI pretty much a household name in America. While things like documentaries against him were released, his rejection and attacking of integration and white America appealed to the oppressed black Americans and ghetto dwellers who were tired of being treated like subhumans. White Americans would also begin to fear the group, as it was a direct threat to their oppressive system that they lived off of. Part of the reason what he taught was so popular was his introduction of a more inclusive, by any means necessary strategy for achieving racial justice. He's the reason we hear this phrase so often in modern life. He would refer to this phrase as the new motto of black Americans fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. He believed that if the white-controlled government was unable to give them equality, that any measure must be taken in order for it to be achieved, even violence if needed. He exemplified this new strategy as Molotov cocktails this month, hand grenades next month, and something else next month. Malcolm was determined to achieve African American justice no matter what, to the point of saying, "It'll be liberty or it will be death." Malcolm's ultimate goal, along with achieving justice, was becoming united as a race. He would use religion as a tool to do this, usually along with the Nation of Islam. While the society he lived in would fight to oppress his people, he brought out pride in his fellow black Americans. He used Islam as an uplifting, uniting force that was overall beneficial to black people in America. He saw Christianity as an oppressive religion of the white man, while Islam encouraged African Americans to improve themselves personally, politically, and economically. While he would eventually leave the Nation of Islam, he would continue practicing the religion and would include other faiths in uniting his race. In 1964, just a year before his eventual assassination, he would mention people like Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders of various faiths to show similarities and shared problems they faced. He wanted to show that together they had to submerge the differences, as they all faced the same challenges and needed to take action, saying, "Whether you're a Baptist, or a Methodist, or a Muslim, we're all in the same boat, and we are all going to catch the same oppression at the hands of the white man." He was a proud, passionate Muslim, but at the end of the day, what he needed was unity, by any means necessary. Unfortunately, Malcolm was assassinated in 1965 by members of the NOI, but he left behind a legacy of influence, justice, innovation, and unity. The civil rights movement truly would not have been the same without him, and his ideas and teachings will hopefully be remembered for generations to come.